100 team over nearly 3 years.
Yeah.
It's not working. You got Aaron Rodgers. He's a great player. You got Mike McCarthy, who's a very good coach. And for some reason, whatever the blame is, it'll be in a book in 2037. Exactly what happened to ruin this reign of Packers. But the bottom line is very simple, Colin. It wasn't working. And the reason that I say this is humane is that a month from today, Mike McCarthy will be on the interview circuit.
Yeah.
Okay? Would Mike McCarthy like to get fired on January 1st and on the morning of January 2nd have an interview with the Cleveland Browns and then get flown in a private plane to New Jersey, have dinner with the Jets, and then the next day, would he like to get flown to Tampa?
Yeah.
I mean, here's the whole thing. This is going to be, and I'm sure he scoffs at this right now, this is going to be good for Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Everybody knows he was getting fired, and so it's going to be good for him. And it'll be very good for the Packers, not only to set up what they need to do about getting the next coach, but to have a philosophical discussion about where we are as an organization. We got a first-year general manager. Where are we as an organization? What kind of coach do we want? If the Packers were to fire Mike McCarthy the day after the season, they're in this sprint-a-thon with all these other people chasing Josh McDaniels and whoever else it is. Calm down. Go slow. Figure out what you want to do as an organization. This is the smartest way to do it.
NBC Sports' Peter King. Peter, Josh McDaniels, I hear, John DeFilippo. I've made this argument. The idea that you're going to inject some newbie, the next Sean McVay, and Aaron Rodgers is going to be like, all right, you take over the program. I don't think Aaron's the easiest guy to coach. I think Aaron has a strong point of view. Jimmy Johnson saw it with Marino. Brad Childress saw it with Brett Favre. Once a legend gets popular and rich and has a title, these are not the easiest people in the world to coach. Do you bring in the new guy or do you bring in an established guy? Which way do you go on this?
Well, I think you have to figure out, okay, who is the established guy and who is the new guy?
Yeah.
The only way that this is going to work, because, look, a couple of years ago, I had a long sit down with Aaron Rodgers. And one of the things he told me is, I want to be coached. I want to be coached hard. If you ever listen at these Super Bowl press conferences to Josh McDaniels talking about coaching Tom Brady, they go at it.
Yeah.
And they go at each other pretty hard. That is what I think Aaron Rodgers needs right now. But there also needs to be a give and take. A couple of weeks ago, when I was fortunate enough to sit in on Saturday night with the New Orleans Saints, I saw a couple of hours of Drew Brees and Sean Payton. And particularly, I saw Brees tell Sean Payton, hey, here are the plays I really want to run tomorrow. Let's talk about them. And they had a back and forth about it.
Yeah.
They were peers. And that's what needs to happen. Whoever the coach is, if Aaron Rodgers is going to roll his eyes when this guy says, hey, we're going to try more RPOs next year, well, they either have the wrong guy or Rodgers has got to get slapped into reality, and I don't think that's going to be the case with Aaron Rodgers.
It's interesting. There's obviously some teams that, I think the Minnesota Kirk Cousins, $28 million next 2 years. I was saying this watching that game last night, that Minnesota's coaching staff, Minnesota's GM and their owner, they're not going to say it publicly, but they've got to have a little doubt in $28 million the next 2 years when Adam Thielen, 28 yards, it was classic Belichick, take away your greatest weapon, what do you have? I look at Minnesota and I think realistically there are some regrets with Cousins. A little bit, Peter? A little?
Maybe a little, but I think there are more regrets right now in the running game and the fact that their offensive line is a total mishmash. And that's the thing. If I'm looking at the Minnesota Vikings right now, I'm going out and buying the best offensive lineman I can find in free agency and 2 of my first 3 picks are offensive linemen. That needs a big rebuild. It's exactly what Chris Ballard did when he got to Indianapolis. If our franchise player is our quarterback and he's got the crap beat out of him the last couple of years that he did play, well, it's up to me to figure out a way to protect him. And that's precisely what the Indianapolis Colts set out to do. And everybody said, oh, my God, you can't pick a guard number 6, Quentin Nelson. What are you doing? Well, if he's going to stabilize your line in part anyway for the next 8 or 10 years, yes, you do. You do use the 6th pick in the draft on him when you've got Andrew Luck that you're trying to protect. And it's the same thing. When I look at the Minnesota Vikings, there are too many cave-ins on that offensive line. And in my opinion, they've got to address it, and they've got to address it fast.
You have a go to the week every week in your column, Peter King, NBC Sports. A player that is responsible for his team's loss, that you really think often a star, that he's got to own it a little. Who was your go to the week?
Well, my go to the week this week was Cam Newton. It was almost Odell Beckham. If the Giants lost that game, I was going to put the goat horns on him for not diving for the onside kick that would have ended the game in the 4th quarter. But Cam Newton's just too loose with the football. Throwing 4 interceptions. He's thrown 7 picks in this 4-game losing streak. I mean, you know, a Norv Turner offense, you should not be throwing that many interceptions. Norv Turner's reputation is you usually have a safe house. You know, you usually got somewhere you can go, even if it's not a deep throw. And I think Cam Newton, he's too far into his career in a game that basically probably cost the Panthers any chance at making the playoffs to throw 4 interceptions at Tampa. I'm sorry, it's inexcusable.
Finally, Steelers-Chargers was crazy town. It was typical Steelers. Every game, Denver's crazy. Jacksonville's crazy. They haven't had a boring game since week 8. Going forward, I argue this kind of drama wears a team out. You got to have a game like last night for New England where you kind of feel in control for 3 hours. This morning, do you trust Pittsburgh in the playoffs this morning?
Well, I'll just say I'll make one point about Pittsburgh last night. I mean, there's a good chance the Chargers are one of the best 5 teams in football.
Yeah.
They've got a quarterback who's playing as well as he ever has in his life, and that's saying something for a guy who's probably going into Canton one day. At age 37, Phillip Rivers is a king right now. So do I have concern for them? Yes, I do have concern for them. But I would have more concern for the Pittsburgh Steelers physically, especially now that James Conner limped off last night.
Yeah.
You know, especially now that Ryan Switzer, you know, has gotten absolutely steamrolled 2 games in a row now, and he's been a good little returner for them. Yeah. I'd be a little bit concerned with the physical toll these games are taking on the Steelers.
Good stuff, Peter King. Football Morning in America on a Monday, NBCSports.com. Good talking to you, Peter.
Thank you, Colin.
Yeah, that thing was crazy last night. That game was... Yesterday, I'm telling you, man, this league right now is humming. There are so many good games. So many good football games this weekend. College, pro... Last night, yesterday, I was just sitting there after I threw a shoe at the TV because the Colts lost. It's just one game after another after another. Russell Wilson, tip of the cap. God, is he good? Russell Wilson. Man, I want Russell Wilson video before the end of the show. I love watching him play. Jimmy Johnson told me yesterday. I don't know if he said it on the air. Jimmy Johnson told me in person yesterday on the Sunday show. We were off air having oatmeal. And Jimmy says, 1.5 minutes left. 1 quarterback in the league. He goes, I'd take Russell Wilson. Legs, brain, arm. He goes, I'd take Russell Wilson.
And I'm like, Tom Brady, huh?
I think I would too. Russell can make you plays with your feet. I mean, he is so good. I don't get it. I don't get the pushback.
We were a little wrong on the Seahawks, huh?
Yeah, they look good. Joel Klatt's around the corner, joining us from New York. His thoughts, strong opinions. Did